I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this baccalaureate service for the class of 2000. I would like to open with this quote by Anatole France. "To accomplish great things, we must not only act, but also dream. Not only plan, but also believe." Thank you.
The poem I've chosen for today is entitled, What is Success? By Ralph Waldo Emerson. What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the attention and affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded.
Alton Wilson is a native of Orange County, North Carolina, of the Schley community. He attended public school in Hillsborough. He graduated from North Carolina State College, as it was called then, in August 1948. He finished his last class on a Friday and went to work teaching vocational agriculture on Monday morning at Eli Whitney High School. He taught vocational agriculture for 34 years at Eli Whitney and Southern Alamance high schools. As a vocational agriculture teacher, he was involved in numerous community activities and projects. Alton served as Scoutmaster for Troop 46, which was sponsored by the PTA and Rotary Club of Eli Whitney. He received the Silver Beaver Award from the Cherokee Council of Boy Scouts of America. He has also received several awards and recognitions from his church, the teaching profession, FFA, and community organizations. While employed at Southern, he not only was advisor for the Future Farmers of America, but also the Student Council and the Ecology Club. For a number of years, he was Dean of the Boys at the State Student Council summer workshops. He and the agriculture students had a major role in establishing the football stadium, baseball field, landscaping, and maintaining the grounds at Southern. When asked if he would choose to follow the same career again, his answer was, by all means. I present to you our speaker for this occasion, Alton Wilson.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm glad you didn't talk to Paul McBain about me. Let me give greetings to the class of 2000. I hope you realize the importance of being in a class of 2000. It'll be a long, long time before anybody else will have that honor of being in a situation where you're the class graduating in the millennium. And I congratulate you on your, I'm not going to call it graduation. It's your commencement. You're starting, or the beginning, I hope, of your education. And I know you've learned your reading and your writing and your arithmetic and your science and all this kind of stuff. But now you're going to start to be getting a real education. And believe me, you're living in a time when things are a little different. They are changing. You know, this is nothing new, nothing outstanding, anything of that nature. But things are changing, and you're living in a changing world, and it's a difficult world, what you're doing. I want to also say that since my retirement in '82, I've been teaching a little bit in community colleges here in Alamance in Randolph County. And I've run across a lot of people that didn't go to Southern High School, but when I introduced myself as having taught at Southern High School, the majority of them always had good things to say about Southern High School. I met a lady at the luncheon here not too long ago. And she said, "Where did you teach?" And I said, "Southern High School." "Oh, that is a wonderful school," she says. And I said to her, "You know, I do this. You're just putting me on just because I said I was from Southern High School. You don't really mean that." "Yes, I do, because I deal with students from all over the county as they graduate. And I know that the students from Southern High School always make a good record in the field that she was in. All right, let me get down to the business now why I'm here, because Ms. McBain has told me I don't have much time, and she also told me they'd walk out on me if I take too much time. I don't know where she's at, but I believe she'd probably be the first one to walk out. I don't know. This evening, I would like to share with you some just sort of maybe random remarks concerning the things that I have lived with. I'm not an intellectual. I've never written a book. I'm not here to solicit your vote for an office like so many of our graduating commencement speakers do. I'm not here soliciting you to come to my college or place of higher learning. I'm here just to share with you some of the things that an ag teacher experienced and what he's experienced through the years and still experiencing. I'm here just to recruit you to do the very best you can in life. And that's success. When you have done the very best that you can, I didn't say what you wanted to do probably, but the best you can, what you're capable of doing with your life, then you are successful. So, as a former ag teacher for 34 years, I would like to try to spin some advice to you. And if I had to title this remarks, I would say, stand tall and be somebody in your life. Now, let me talk a little bit about your education. I said your education was just beginning. And I hope it is for you. You need to keep on learning. You don't know everything. Majority of you don't know much about life. No. You better hold that till I get through, and then you may not want to applaud. But you don't. I can remember when I finished high school, you know, it's an old saying that people who finish their school, go off to college, the freshman year they come back and that daddy of theirs is the biggest old fogey you've ever seen in your life. And then they come back home from their sophomore year and they are surprised how much daddy has learned in that year that they have been gone. So you need to keep on learning. I want to relate a personal experience that I had with this. A few years after I started teaching, I had these three guys. They were real good friends. Two of them, I'd give them this old sing-song about, you know, you need to finish school and yak. And at that time, we had a Ford Foundation study, and I think they're still doing this. Ford Foundation study that showed how much more you could earn in a lifetime if you finished high school and what it did if you dropped out. Well, these two guys came. I found out they were planning to drop out as soon as they got 16 years old and go to work. And I tried to talk them out of it. It didn't do no good. The third guy stayed in school. He graduated from high school. I sort of lost track of these two guys that dropped out. It came to me a couple of years after the graduation class that they had been in. And one of them said to me, you give us that old thing about, you know, earning more money. And we went to work, The third guy graduated. He came to work at the same place that we are working, and we were making 5 cents an hour or more than he started out making. I said, just wait for 20 years from now and see what's making. I lost track of these guys for a long time. One of them I sort of kept in touch with, but the other two, I lost track of them. The third guy, he kept on learning. And he did advance in his work. He never did receive a degree anywhere, but I followed. And every opportunity that he had, that the company offered him to advance, he took advantage of it. The other two boys, I lost track of them until just 3 or 4 years ago. I met up with one of them, and I asked about the other one. Oh, he passed away 4 or 5 years ago. What was his problem? I said, he was an alcoholic, and it killed him. I said, how about you? How are you doing? Well, I got some health problems because I took a job that was not related to good health. And I got some health problems now, and I noticed in the paper just about a year ago that this fellow passed away too. The third guy is still living, and I think he's had a couple of daughters graduate here from Southern High School. I tell you that to say to you, this little example, regardless of what you might think of it, is of one of how, regardless of what you go into, there are always learning opportunities there. And I hate to mention jobs, because somebody would be offended if I did. But there are jobs, that pay more than others, and et cetera, and so forth. And you can work up. If you're in your own business, if you just sit there and do the same old thing over and over and over without trying to make any improvements, and go ahead and yawn. I see some of you yawn, and that's all right. Some of you might want to go to sleep. By the way, let me inject this right here. I think the baccalaureate service really is a rehearsal for the real thing, And Mary and the rest of them out there, you ought to check them for chewing gum when they come in on graduation night. I used to let them chew in my class, but I do think it looks a little bad if you know. And also, let me give you this. When you get married, don't stand up there chewing gum. I've seen that happen so many times. And if you get your best friends to usher for you, please tell them not to be chewing gum all the time they usher. I float that in. That just happened to come in here. All right, now you remember now I said keep on learning. I didn't say necessarily keep going to school. Now some people make a career out of going to school as long as mom and daddy will pay for it. And maybe that's good. A lot of times they get out and they have to travel all over the country trying to find themselves. You hear these on television, and these guys with a backpack on his back, and they interviewing him and said, well, I just went all over Europe, and I went all trying to find myself. All I had to do was look around behind him, and his shadow was right there. So keep on learning. I learn something just about every week in my woodworking thing that I'm doing now. All right, let me talk a little bit about college. Some of you are going to go to college, I'm sure. And let me tell you this. You will not get your education on Franklin Street and Hillsborough Street and at the mall at Duke. When I see those television things of all those crowds down at Duke camping out for 3 or 4 or 5 days trying to get tickets to, and I can understand that. But I wish they would, when they got through with those beautiful tents, give them to a Boy Scout troop somewhere in there. All right. If you want to reach your career goal, and I hope you've got a career goal, if you want to reach your career goal, keep on learning. Don't give up on the goal that you have set for yourself. There'll be many roadblocks. You'll fail that history course, or you'll fail that chemistry course. And you think, well, I'm through. But there are lots of ways you can get around that failure. And you need to take advantage of it. And don't give up on your career. I ain't got time now, and I wish I had time to relate to you what I did. I had lots of roadblocks. I'll just name a few of them right here, right quick. When I was in the 6th grade, I was out in the field by myself trying to get the grass out of the biker. And the ground was hard as bricks almost. I'd hit the ground and the hoe would fly back up my face almost. And I remember very distinctly, this is not for me. I like to farm, but there's no way we can make a living here on this farm. It was 9 of us on the farm. So I decided I was going to be an ag teacher. And I let the ag teacher at Hillsborough know when I went back to school that fall that that's what I wanted to do. And he gave me lots of opportunities to learn stuff and dealing with. He turned all of his record keeping over to me. And we had to keep a lot of them in those days. And so when I went to state and we got into the education courses and they were talking about it, I knew all about those records. The other guys didn't. But in it. So we get a lot of roadblocks and we don't let them bother us. We keep on keeping on. All right, let me switch from education to another. Linda, how's my time? To another thing that I want to share with you. I want to make some comments on your civic responsibility. I see a downtrend in the whole country, it seems like, on the civic responsibility that we're taking. We're not doing those things that we need to do to keep this country great. All right, now, here's one of your civic responsibilities, is to vote. To vote. Politics. That's how they're dirty and they're crooked and yeah. But you are affected every day by politics. Some of you are having to take tests now because of politics. And some of you won't get your driver's license because of politics. Well, those things affect you. And if you're not going to be a part of it, then they're not going to pay any attention to you. I can remember back in the 60s, there was a lot of emphasis placed on 18-year-old vote. The teacher organizations, when we go to the state meetings, national meetings, there's always somebody, write your congressman, get the 18-year-old to vote. If they can go to war, they can vote, and all that stuff that went on. And I can remember when Congress passed this, I was in Detroit at a National Education Association meeting, and they announced about 10:30 that morning that the Congress had passed and the President had signed the 18-year-old vote. That auditorium just burst. The next week, we were at Mars Hill at Student Council workshop. And here again, there was a tremendous ovation when one of the speakers president of the North Carolina Association of Student Council Congress announced, and had something, another ovation for that vote. And there was a drive to get 18-year-olds to vote, to register to vote. You know what happened? They tell me now, after the elections, when these people analyze it, the 18-year-olds are not voting. And that's one of your civic responsibilities of what is taking place in this country. All right. Another thing that you can do is volunteer. We just recently in Alamance County got a volunteering center or whatever it's called, I think, according to the paper. And there are lots of opportunities for you to find yourself in volunteering to help. The Little League ball teams, for example, need boys and girls just like you to help with them. Now, what you need to do there is tell the parents to stay home and let you do the coaching and pick them up after the game. It's the way I understand what they're doing in there. All right, then if you're getting bored with life, your job is boring and you, whatever it is, then find you a good hobby. Get involved in something other than whoopee parties kinds of stuff going on. Get you a good hobby. And I use this as an illustration. I have a guy in my woodworking class over at Ashboro. I knew he lived in this neighborhood where my sister-in-law has a creek running right behind her place. And I'd heard that they had found gold in that creek. So I asked him about it. I said, is it true that there is gold? He says, my son lived in that creek. His hobby was hunting for gold. And he made a career out of it. And right now, he's in Montana trying to find gold for a conglomerate from Charlotte that wants to keep the big guys from cornering the market on gold, and they paying him $100,000 for 10 months' work to go out there and establish a gold mine. That's what a hobby can lead into in that. All right, now, you say I'm getting bored. I just cry my heart out when I hear a little 14, 15-year-old person. That's high school. Well, it's boring. It's boring. I'm bored. Yep. Saw one on television, and she was using this sing-song about things being boring and so forth. And I looked, and sure enough, she was bored, all right. She had holes bored in her ears, both of them. She had holes bored in her eyelids. She had holes bored in her nose. She had holes bored in her lips. She had holes bored in her tongue, and I'm not going to go any further than that. But she was bored. I tell you, she looked like a walking pawn shop in there. So I wonder now if she's not sitting somewhere hoping that she could get over to an electric drill and bore herself out of prison. All right. One other rambling thought I want to talk about is your health. I'm I guess a classic example of what health can do to you. You people that are Southern, and by the way, most of you guys and gals were not even born when I left Southern. But anyway, those that knew me knew that they called me all sorts of names, and one of them was Hoppy. And I had a bum leg, and I just limped along. Sometimes I couldn't even do that. Well, it got to the place 6 years ago that I could not hardly walk with these hand crutches that they have. It was terrible. And 6 years ago today, I had my first, I was in the hospital at UNC Chapel Hill with my first hip replacement. 3 months later, I had the left one replaced. And right now, after having lost 60 pounds through the TOPS organization, I didn't know men could join it, but I did, and they accepted me. I've lost 60 pounds now in 2 years. And I feel better, and I'm in the best health that I've been since I was in high school, because I had this hip problem when I was in high school. So health is important, and you need to be mindful of that as you go through into your beginning of your life. Now, let me say this. If you're using chemicals, and I'm talking about alcohol and drugs as the chemicals I'm talking about right now, if you use them, you're dumb, because they will destroy you. They will destroy your mind. Some of you, they'll destroy your mind. They'll destroy your liver, your lungs. And it's so pitiful to see a young man in his 40s being laid to rest because he was in it. If you go to a party and they got drugs and alcohol, you are at the wrong party. And if you're entertaining at a party and you feel that you have to serve alcohol and maybe have a little drugs going around, you're giving the wrong party if you're involved in that. Now, I've said enough about that. That's the way I feel about it. And like I said, I'm no intellectual and I can't give you all the statistics involved in this. If you read the Greensboro paper today, and UNCG was number 6 in the nation in arrests were made there in 1998, I believe it was. They are there. And people make you think that they're what you've got to have. I don't know of anybody that had any more fun than I did in coming up, and I'm still having. And I didn't have to have it to have a good time. I had friends in college that thought they had to be drunk to go to a dance, and then on Sunday morning they didn't even know where they'd been. And I know good and well I had a lot better time than they did. Now, the other chemical that I want to talk about is tobacco. If you're using tobacco and informing, let me say this. I was raised on a tobacco farm, and the only cash money that we had, it was 11 of us, counting Mom and Daddy. And Daddy got killed by lightning in 1930, and you know what the 30s were, I hope. If you hadn't studied it in your history, you go back and look at the 30s. Late 20s and early 30s, on up to 40. Only cash money we had was just not a great deal, but a little money to pay for the fertilizer and maybe buy us a pair of shoes and stuff of that nature. Was from tobacco. But our mother did not want us to use tobacco, and we didn't. And I am thankful every day that she drilled within me and the rest of my brothers and sisters it was harmful. Now, this is way back. It wasn't, I'm not talking about 80s. It's going back in the 30s and 40s. So if you're using tobacco, stop now. Preserve your lungs and preserve your liver and preserve your heart, because there's plenty of evidence. I know I'm stepping on some toes, and that's all right if you want to put them up on the back of the seat back there, that's all right. But there's plenty of evidence that it is harmful in that. And you don't need it, really. Don't need it. All right. One other aspect of health I want to emphasize is, and this is something that a whole lot of people do not do. They wait till they get in trouble, then they go to try to fix it up. You need to establish a medical history right now. You need to establish a medical history right now, so that so many of these things we have in our late lives stem back to our youth. And the more information the medical profession has, and those scan things and all this stuff they got now can't diagnose it all. So I would encourage you to get a good physical and let the doctor record all your blood pressures and your cholesterol and the PSAs, you guys, and all these things, so you'll have a record of it and they can follow it along. All right, enough of that. My closing remark is this. Now, you are going to be responsible for the rest of your life. Nobody can make you do anything that you don't want to do. I hear so much. Society played me a raw deal. My parents were mean to me. I come from a dysfunctional family. Well, you're at the age now that you can determine whether it's dysfunctional or not and do something about it. And don't blame people for what you are when you need to make yourselves the very best that you can do and be somebody in your life ahead. I thank you very much. You've been a good audience and appreciate you.
On behalf of the graduating class of 2000, I'd like to thank Mr. Wilson. His words are an inspiration to not only the graduates, but to everyone here as we all continue on our education.
In closing, success will find each and every one of us. Our habits and actions will enable us to accomplish this goal. The authors of If It Ain't Broke, Break It assert, we don't have a clue as to what people's limits are. All the tests, stopwatches, and finish lines in the world can't measure human potential. When someone is pursuing their dream, they'll go far beyond what seems to be their limitations. The potential that exists within us is limitless and largely untapped. When you think of limits, you create them. Good luck, Southern Alamance Class of 2000.